Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance and watched Earth grow smaller through the main window. 3 years had passed since aliens first came to Earth, and humans learned they were not alone in the galaxy. The Galactic Coalition had 12 different alien species working together to keep peace in space. Now humans were part of this group too. Jake was 35 years old and had been in the Earth Navy for 15 years. He had short brown hair and green eyes that missed nothing. The other officers said he could stay calm even when everything went wrong. That was why Earth Command chose him to captain their most powerful warship. The Vengeance was not like other ships in the Coalition fleet. While alien ships used energy shields and plasma weapons, human engineers built something different. The ship had thick armor made from titanium mixed with carbon that could stop almost any attack. Instead of energy weapons, it carried railguns that shot metal bullets faster than most ships could move. The reactor that powered everything was 3 times stronger than what alien ships used. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Hayes sat at the weapons station checking all systems. She was 28 years old, with blonde hair tied back in a neat style. She had joined the Space Navy right after the aliens arrived because she wanted to protect Earth. Lisa was the best weapons officer in the fleet and could hit targets that other people could not even see. Commander Alex Stone worked at the intelligence station reading reports from across the galaxy. He was 32 years old and very smart. Alex had black hair and wore glasses that helped him read the small text on his screens. Before joining the Navy, he had worked for the government, studying alien technology. Now, he used that knowledge to help Jake make good decisions in space. Chief Engineer Maria Santos was down in the engine room making sure everything worked perfectly. She was 40 years old and had been fixing machines since she was a teenager. Maria had dark hair, with some gray streaks and hands that were always a little dirty from working on engines. She knew every part of the Vengeance better than anyone else. When something broke, Maria could fix it faster than the computer could find the problem. Navigation Officer Tony Clark sat at his station planning their route through space. He was 26 years old and loved flying more than anything else. Tony had red hair and a smile that made other people feel better when things got hard. He could pilot the big warship like it was a small fighter plane. Other pilots, said Tony, could fly through an asteroid field with his eyes closed. The ship had just finished 3 months of testing in the outer colonies. Everything worked exactly like the engineers said it would. The railguns could punch through the strongest alien armor. The reactor could power the ship for years without stopping. The computers could think faster than any alien system the Coalition had ever seen. Dr. Karen Phillips was in the science lab studying data from their test flights. She was 33 years old and had studied physics at the best schools on Earth. Karen had long brown hair and always wore a white lab coat covered in pens and small tools. She understood how human technology worked and could explain it to aliens who had never seen anything like it before. Communications Officer Steve Carter was listening to radio signals from all across the galaxy. He was 25 years old and could speak 6 different alien languages. Steve had short black hair and was always polite to everyone he talked to. He could hear things in alien voices that told him what they were really thinking even when their words said something else. Executive Officer Amy Johnson walked around the ship, checking on all departments. She was 31 years old and had been Jake's friend since they were both young officers. Amy had shoulder-length brown hair and dark eyes that could see when someone was lying. She made sure everyone on the ship did their job right and helped Jake when he had to make hard choices. The Vengeance was heading toward the Kepler sector, where trouble was growing. A group called the Iron Claw Syndicate had been attacking Coalition colonies and stealing supplies. These aliens did not want peace like the Coalition did. They wanted to take over systems and make other species serve them. Jake read the mission orders on his command screen. The Coalition had asked Earth to send their best ship to escort some diplomats through dangerous space. What the aliens did, not know was that Earth's command had been planning for this moment since humans first joined the coalition. They wanted to show what human ships could do without starting a war. The crew of the Vengeance had trained for 2 years to work together. They knew each other so well that they could almost read minds. When Jake gave an order, everyone knew exactly what to do. When Lisa aimed the weapons, Tony moved the ship to the perfect position. When Alex found enemy ships, Maria gave more power to the systems that needed it most. As they flew deeper into space, Jake thought about what they might face. The intelligence reports said the Iron Claw had many ships and weapons that could destroy planets. But Jake was not worried. The Vengeance carried something no alien had ever seen before. Hidden in the cargo bay were weapons that could end fights. Before they started, the other coalition species thought humans were weak because Earth was new to space travel. They did not understand that humans had been fighting wars for thousands of years, while aliens had forgotten how to be truly dangerous. Humans remembered everything about conflict and survival. Jake looked at his crew and felt proud. These men and women were about to show the galaxy what humans could do when they had to protect what they loved. The Iron Claw Syndicate thought they were strong, but they had never faced human determination backed by human technology. The stars ahead looked peaceful, but Jake knew that would change soon. Somewhere in the darkness, enemy ships were waiting to attack innocent people. The Vengeance was flying toward a battle that would change how every alien species looked at humanity. Forever. The Vengeance dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kepler sector. Jake Morrison stood behind his command chair and watched the main screen filled with stars and empty space. But Commander Alex Stone was already seeing things that worried him. Alex looked at his intelligence screens and saw energy readings that meant big trouble. His computers were picking up massive signatures from 3 different directions. Each signature was bigger than anything a single ship could make. These were entire battle fleets waiting in the darkness. "Captain, I have multiple contacts," Alex said in his calm voice. 3 large formations, positioned in a triangle pattern around the diplomatic convoy's planned route. Each group has at least 40 ships. Lisa Hayes turned from her weapons console to look at Jake. Her fingers were already moving over the targeting controls, getting ready for whatever came next. She had practiced this moment hundreds of times in training, but now it was real. "Can you identify the ship types?" Jake asked. Alex studied his readings more carefully. The alien ships were not trying to hide, which meant they wanted to be seen. That was usually a bad sign in space battles. "I count heavy cruisers, destroyers, and what looked like carrier ships launching fighter squadrons," Alex reported. "The energy patterns match Iron Claw Syndicate technology." Tony Clark was already calculating flight paths at his navigation station. His fingers danced over the controls as he figured out how the enemy ships were moving. The pattern was clear and dangerous. "Sir, they're setting up a classic pincer attack," Tony said. "When the diplomatic ships enter the sector, all 3 fleets will close in from different angles. The convoy will be trapped with nowhere to run." Jake nodded. The Iron Claw was using good tactics, but they had made one big mistake. They thought they only had to fight the coalition escort ships that always protected diplomatic missions. They did not know that Earth had sent the Vengeance. "How many total enemy ships are we looking at?" Jake asked. Alex double-checked his numbers. The readings were so large that his computers needed extra time to count everything. 120 ships, Captain, plus fighter squadrons that could add another 200 smaller craft. The bridge was quiet for a moment. Most space battles in the coalition involved 10 or 15 ships on each side. This was bigger than anything humans had seen since joining the galactic community. Communications Officer Steve Carter turned from his station with a worried look. "Sir, I'm receiving a transmission from the diplomatic convoy. They're asking for orders." Jake looked at the tactical display, showing all the enemy positions. The Iron Claw fleets were perfectly placed to destroy the convoy and any normal escort ships. But the Vengeance was not a normal ship. "Tell the convoy to maintain course and speed," Jake said. "Inform them that we will handle the situation." Steve sent the message, but Jake could hear doubt in the alien voices that answered. The diplomats could see the same sensor readings that showed over 100 enemy ships waiting for them. They thought the humans had made a mistake. Chief Engineer Maria Santos called from the engine room. "Captain, all systems are running perfectly. The reactor is at full power and all weapons are ready to fire." Dr. Karen Phillips looked up from her science station, where she had been studying the enemy ships. "Captain, I'm reading their weapon types. Standard plasma cannons, ion beams, and photon torpedoes. Their shields are energy-based like most Coalition technology." Jake smiled. The Iron Claw was about to learn why human ships were built so differently from everyone else's. Energy shields worked well against energy weapons, but they had problems with solid objects moving very fast. "Yellow alert," Jake ordered. "All hands to battle stations." Amy Johnson activated the ship-wide communication system. "This is the executive officer. All crew members report to battle stations. This is not a drill." Throughout the ship, humans moved quickly to their positions. In the weapon bays, teams loaded special ammunition that no alien had ever seen before. In the engine room, Maria pushed the reactor to higher power levels that would have scared Coalition engineers. The Iron Claw fleet started moving toward the convoy's position. Their ships formed perfect attack formations that had worked in dozens of battles against Coalition forces. The alien commanders probably felt confident about their victory. Steve Carter received another transmission, this time from the enemy. "Captain, the lead Iron Claw ship is demanding that we surrender and prepare to be boarded." Jake almost laughed. The aliens still thought they were facing a normal Coalition escort mission. They had no idea what the Vengeance could do to their entire fleet. "Open a channel to all Iron Claw ships," Jake ordered. Steve's fingers moved over his controls. "Channel open, sir." Jake stepped forward and spoke in the clear, strong voice that had made him famous in the Earth Navy. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earthship Vengeance. You are ordered to withdraw from this sector immediately. This is your only warning." The response came quickly from the Iron Claw commander. The alien voice was full of laughter and mockery. "One human ship against 3 of our battle fleets. You must be joking. Prepare to die, Earth creature." Jake looked at Lisa Hayes and nodded. She activated the ship's full sensor suite, something they had kept hidden until now. Every system that could see or detect anything in space suddenly turned on at maximum power. The change was immediate and shocking. On every Iron Claw ship, human technology appeared on their screens like nothing they had ever seen before. The Vengeance showed power readings that broke their computers, weapon systems that their databases could not identify, energy levels that should have been impossible for a single ship. Alex Stone watched the enemy communications channels as panic started spreading through their fleets. Iron Claw officers were asking each other what kind of ship they were facing. Their tactical computers could not provide firing solutions because human technology worked in ways they did not understand. "Captain," Alex reported with satisfaction. In his voice, "the enemy fleets have stopped moving toward the convoy. They're trying to figure out what we are." Jake sat down in his command chair and waited. Sometimes the best weapon in a battle was fear. The Iron Claw had expected to fight Coalition ships they understood. Instead, they found themselves facing something completely unknown and potentially more powerful than anything they had ever seen. Jake Morrison watched the tactical display as the Iron Claw fleets hesitated in space. Their ships had stopped moving toward the diplomatic convoy, but they had not retreated either. The alien commanders were clearly confused by what their sensors were telling them about the Vengeance. "Captain," Alex Stone said from his intelligence station, "I'm monitoring their communications. They're arguing about what kind of ship we are. Their computers can't classify our weapons or power systems. Jake nodded. Fear of the unknown was powerful, but it would not last forever. Soon the Iron Claw officers would decide that one ship could not really threaten their entire fleet, no matter how strange it looked on their screens. We need to show them what human technology can do, Jake said. But I don't want to destroy any of their ships if we can avoid it. Lisa Hayes looked up from her weapons console. Sir, there's a large asteroid field, about 50,000 kilometers to starboard. Some of those rocks are big enough to show up clearly on every ship's sensors. Jake smiled. Lisa always thought like a warrior, but she was also smart about how to win without killing people. Perfect. Can you hit one of the larger asteroids with a single railgun shot? Yes, sir. I can target the biggest one in the field. It's about the same size as a coalition battleship, so the enemy will be able to judge the weapon's power. Dr. Karen Phillips turned from her science station. Captain, if we use a full power shot, the kinetic energy release will be visible across the entire sector. Every ship will see exactly what our railguns can do. Tony Clark checked his navigation readings. Sir, I can position us for a clear shot that won't endanger any of the ships in the area. Jake looked around his bridge at the crew he trusted. With his life and the lives of everyone in the diplomatic convoy, these men and women were about to demonstrate why Earth had built warships differently from everyone else in the galaxy. All right, people. We're going to give them a demonstration they'll never forget. Tony, move us into position. Lisa, prepare railgun number 1 for a full power shot. Karen, I want you to broadcast the technical details of what we're doing to both the Coalition and Iron Claw ships. The Vengeance turned smoothly through space as Tony guided it to the perfect angle for the demonstration. The ship's movements were graceful despite its massive size, showing the precision of human engineering. Lisa's hands moved over her targeting controls with the skill of years of practice. The railgun systems powered up with a deep humming sound that vibrated through the ship's hull. Energy flowed from the reactor into the weapon systems at levels that would have overloaded most alien ships. Target locked, Lisa reported. Railgun 1 is charged and ready to fire. Karen Phillips activated her communication systems and began broadcasting on all frequencies that both Coalition and Iron Claw ships could receive. Attention all vessels. This is Dr. Karen Phillips, aboard the UES Vengeance. We are about to demonstrate human kinetic weapons technology. The target is asteroid designated K7 in the local field. Our railgun will fire a solid projectile at 15% of light speed. Please observe the results. Steve Carter monitored the communication channels as alien voices filled with excitement and worry. Some of the Iron Claw officers were laughing, saying that no ship could fire a bullet at that speed. Coalition diplomats were asking their own scientists if such a thing was possible. Fire when ready, Lisa, Jake ordered. Lisa pressed the firing button. The railgun shot a piece of metal the size of a small car. Magnetic fields accelerated it down the barrel faster than most ships could fly. The projectile left the Vengeance at a significant fraction of the speed of light, carrying more kinetic energy than most alien weapons could produce. When the metal slug hit the asteroid, the result was spectacular. The rock did not just break apart or explode, it vaporized completely, in a flash of light, brighter than a small star. The kinetic energy release created an electromagnetic pulse that temporarily overloaded sensors on ships throughout the sector. For several seconds, space was filled with expanding gas and energy from what had been a solid asteroid moments before. The light show was visible to everyone in the area, and the energy readings were off the scale of most alien instruments. Karen Phillips continued her broadcast as the light faded. The weapon you just observed was operating at 12% of maximum capacity. The UES Vengeance carries 6 such weapons, plus nuclear warheads and antimatter torpedoes for extreme situations. The effect on the Iron Claw fleets was immediate and dramatic. Communication channels that had been filled with confident chatter suddenly went quiet. Ship sensors that had been scanning the Vengeance now showed readings that their crews could barely believe. Alex Stone smiled as he listened to the enemy conversations. "Captain, their fleet commanders are requesting private channels with each other. They're trying to figure out if they can fight us at all." The lead Iron Claw ship, a heavy cruiser called the Bloodfang, sent a transmission request directly to Jake. The alien commander's voice was very different from the mocking tone he had used earlier. "This is Commander Ben Turner of the Iron Claw Fleet. I request permission to speak with Captain Morrison." Jake nodded to Steve Carter, who opened the channel. "This is Captain Morrison. What do you want, Commander Turner?" "Captain, my sensors show that your weapon completely destroyed an asteroid the size of one of our battleships. Is this some kind of trick or illusion?" "No trick, Commander. That was a standard kinetic projectile fired at low power. We have hundreds of similar rounds in our weapons bays." There was a long pause before Turner spoke again. "Captain, my fleet was ordered to capture the diplomatic convoy and hold it for ransom. We expected to face normal coalition escort ships. We were not told that Earth had sent a warship." Jake kept his voice calm and professional. "Commander Turner, human space doctrine considers any aggressive positioning against diplomatic vessels to be an act of war. Earth's response to acts of war is proportional, meaning we use exactly enough force to eliminate the threat completely." Another pause, longer this time. Jake could imagine the Iron Claw commander looking at his tactical displays and trying to figure out how to fight a ship that could vaporize asteroids with single shots. "Captain Morrison, what are your intentions regarding my fleets?" Jake looked at his crew, then at the tactical display showing 120 enemy ships that suddenly seemed a lot less dangerous than they had an hour ago. "That depends entirely on what you do next, Commander Turner." The space around the Kepler sector became very quiet after Jake Morrison's words. 3 Iron Claw battle fleets with 120 ships stayed in their attack positions, but none of them moved forward. The diplomatic convoy continued on its path, protected by a single human warship that had just shown it could destroy battleships with one shot. Commander Ben Turner of the Iron Claw did not respond immediately to Jake's question. Alex Stone could hear panicked conversations on the enemy communication channels as officers tried to understand what they were facing. "Captain," Alex reported, "the Iron Claw commanders are arguing with each other. Some want to attack us anyway, but others are saying it would be suicide." Jake sat in his command chair and waited. He knew that patience was often the best weapon in situations like this. The longer the enemy had to think about what they had seen, the more afraid they would become. Lisa Hayes kept her weapons ready, but did not target any of the Iron Claw ships directly. She knew that pointing guns at someone was often seen as a threat that could start shooting. Instead, she kept the railguns aimed at empty space while making sure they could swing toward enemy ships in seconds if needed. Tony Clark watched his navigation screens as the diplomatic convoy moved closer to the area where the 3 enemy fleets waited. The alien diplomats aboard those ships were probably very nervous, but they had to trust that the humans knew what they were doing. Dr. Karen Phillips was broadcasting technical information about human weapons to anyone who wanted to listen. She explained how kinetic weapons worked differently from energy weapons, and why human ships were built to survive the kind of damage that would destroy most alien vessels. "The key difference," Karen said, over the open channel, "is that human military technology was developed during centuries of warfare against other humans. We learned to build weapons that could penetrate any defense, and ships that could survive any attack." Steve Carter listened to the reactions from both Coalition and Iron Claw ships. The Coalition diplomats were amazed to learn what their newest allies could do. The Iron Claw officers sounded more worried with every technical detail they heard. Amy Johnson walked around the bridge checking on everyone's status. She could see the tension in her crew's faces, but she also saw confidence. These men and women knew their ship was the most powerful thing in the sector. After an hour of silence, Commander Turner finally responded to Jake's challenge. "Captain Morrison, I need to know something. If we withdraw from this sector and leave the convoy alone, will you hunt down our fleets and destroy them?" Jake thought carefully before answering. This was the moment when he could either start a war or prevent one. "Commander Turner, Earth does not seek conflict with the Iron Claw Syndicate. Our mission is to protect the diplomatic convoy. If you leave this area and do not threaten coalition ships in the future, we have no reason to fight you. But what about our recent raids on coalition colonies? Will Earth demand punishment for those actions?" Jake looked at his senior staff. Amy Johnson nodded slightly, telling him that she agreed with what he was thinking. "Commander Turner, I am authorized to offer you a deal. If the Iron Claw Syndicate withdraws from all coalition territory and releases any prisoners taken in recent raids, Earth will consider past conflicts to be resolved." The communication channel went quiet again. Jake knew that Turner was probably talking to his other fleet commanders, and maybe even to Ironclaw leadership back at their home base. Alex Stone was monitoring those conversations. "Sir, Turner is speaking with someone who seems to have higher authority. I can't understand all of their language, but they're discussing terms." Maria Santos called from the engine room. "Captain, all systems are still running perfectly. We can maintain full combat readiness for as long as you need." Jake nodded. The Vengeance had been designed to fight long battles if necessary, but he hoped this standoff would end without more shooting. Dr. Karen Phillips received a direct question from one of the coalition diplomatic ships. "Captain, Ambassador Rebecca Martinez wants to know if our weapons demonstration was intended to intimidate the Iron Claw, or to show coalition allies what human ships can do." Jake smiled. Ambassador Martinez was very smart and understood that this moment was about more than just protecting one convoy. Tell the ambassador that it was both. The galaxy needs to understand that Earth takes its responsibilities seriously, and that human technology gives us the ability to keep our promises. After 2 more hours, Commander Turner came back on the communication channel. "Captain Morrison, I have spoken with the Iron Claw High Command. We are prepared to accept your terms, but we need certain guarantees." "What kind of guarantees, Commander?" "We need assurance that Earth will not use its superior weapons to attack Iron Claw territory without cause. We also need recognition that the Iron Claw Syndicate has legitimate territorial claims in some systems that are not part of coalition space." Jake discussed this quickly with Amy Johnson and Alex Stone. The terms seemed reasonable and might lead to lasting peace. "Commander Turner, Earth can agree to those terms. We are not interested in conquest or aggression. However, any future attacks on coalition ships or colonies will be met with full human military response." "Understood, Captain Morrison. The Iron Claw fleets will withdraw from this sector immediately. All prisoners taken in recent raids will be released within 10 standard days. We formally request non-aggression treaties with Earth and will comply with coalition territorial boundaries." Jake felt relief wash over his bridge crew. They had avoided a battle that could have killed thousands of people on both sides. "Agreed, Commander Turner. Safe travels to you and your fleets." The Iron Claw ships began moving away from their attack positions. Within an hour, all 120 enemy vessels had jumped to faster-than-light travel and disappeared from the sector. The diplomatic convoy completed its journey without any problems. Coalition representatives aboard the escort vessels could hardly believe what they had witnessed. Ambassador Martinez sent a personal message to Jake. "Captain Morrison, what we saw today will change how every species in the galaxy thinks about humanity. You showed that overwhelming power can be used to prevent wars rather than start them." Jake looked at his crew and felt proud of what they had accomplished. The Vengeance had faced down 3 battle fleets without firing a shot at a single enemy ship. The U.S. Vengeance arrived back at Earth's orbital shipyard 3 days after the encounter in the Kepler sector. News of what happened had already spread throughout the galaxy faster than any human ship could travel. Every coalition species and many independent worlds were talking about the day a single human warship faced down 3 enemy fleets without firing a shot. Jake Morrison stood in the briefing room at Earth Command headquarters, looking out at the blue planet below. Admiral Patricia Wells, the head of Earth's Space Navy, sat across from him reading reports from Coalition allies and intelligence services. Captain Morrison, Admiral Wells said, "I've received communication from every member species of the Coalition. They all want to know the same thing. How many ships like the Vengeance does Earth have?" Jake smiled. "What did you tell them, Admiral?" "The truth. That human military capabilities are classified, but that Earth takes its responsibilities too. Coalition security very seriously." The door opened and Ambassador Rebecca Martinez entered the room. She had just finished meetings with Coalition representatives who wanted to understand what they had witnessed. "Captain Morrison, Admiral Wells," Ambassador Martinez said as she sat down, "I've been fielding questions for the past 2 days from every diplomatic mission in Coalition space. The common opinion is that humanity has changed the balance of power in the galaxy." Jake looked thoughtful. "Is that good or bad for human relations with other species?" "It's complicated," Ambassador Martinez replied. "Some species are relieved that the Coalition has such powerful protectors. Others are worried about what humans might do with weapons that can vaporize asteroids." Admiral Wells activated a holographic display showing star maps of Coalition territory. "The Iron Claw Syndicate has already begun withdrawing from contested systems. They've also released over 200 prisoners taken in recent raids. Our diplomatic solution worked better than anyone expected." Jake nodded, but he could see concern in the Admiral's eyes. "What's bothering you, Admiral?" "Captain, the galaxy now knows that human ships are vastly more powerful than anything else in space. That brings responsibilities we need to be ready for." As if to prove her point, Steve Carter's voice came over the communication system. "Admiral Wells, we're receiving priority messages from Coalition Command, the Traders Guild, and something called the Neutral Worlds Alliance. They all want to meet with Earth representatives immediately." Ambassador Martinez sighed. "Everyone wants to be friends with the people who have the biggest guns." Through the window, Jake could see other ships in Earth's orbital fleet. The Vengeance was not alone. 11 other identical warships were docked at various stations around Earth. Each one was commanded by officers as skilled as Jake's crew, and each one carried the same devastating weapons that had amazed the galaxy. Dr. Karen Phillips had spent the past 3 days answering questions from Coalition scientists who wanted to understand human technology. Most of them could not believe that kinetic weapons could be more effective than their advanced energy systems. Lisa Hayes and Tony Clark were working with Earth Command to develop new training programs. Other human warships would soon be operating throughout Coalition space, and their crews needed to understand how to use intimidation instead of destruction. Alex Stone was busy analyzing intelligence reports about how the news of the Kepler sector incident was affecting political situations across the galaxy. Some terrorist groups had canceled planned attacks after learning about human military capabilities. Several wars between minor species had ended when both sides realized that Earth might intervene. Chief Engineer Maria Santos was leading a team of engineers who were building more ships like the Vengeance. Earth Command wanted to have at least 50 such vessels within 5 years. Enough to protect Coalition space and respond to any major threat. Amy Johnson had been promoted to captain and given command of the UES Thunder, one of the Vengeance's sister ships. She would be leading a mission to the Outer Rim, where pirate attacks had been increasing. Admiral Wells stood up and walked to the window. "Captain Morrison, what you and your crew accomplished was remarkable. You showed that sometimes the best Way to win a fight is to be so strong that nobody wants to fight you. Jake joined her at the window. Admiral, I keep thinking about something Commander Turner said during our conversation. He mentioned that his people weren't told Earth had sent a warship. That suggests the Iron Claw intelligence network doesn't fully understand what human ships can do. That's probably true for most of the galaxy, Admiral Wells agreed, which gives us an advantage we need to use carefully. Ambassador Martinez looked up from her diplomatic reports. Captain, I've been authorized to tell you that the Coalition Council has voted to make Earth the primary peacekeeping force for the entire Alliance. They want human ships stationed at strategic points throughout Coalition territory. Jake felt the weight of that responsibility. Earth had been part of the galactic community for only 3 years, and now other species were asking humans to be their protectors. How many ships are we talking about? Jake asked. Initially, 12 vessels like the Vengeance at key locations. Eventually, they want enough human ships to patrol all major trade routes and border areas. Admiral Wells activated another display, showing proposed deployment zones. Captain Morrison, you and the Vengeance will be based at Coalition Central Command. Your ship will respond to the most serious threats anywhere in the galaxy. Jake looked at the star map and thought about his crew. They had signed up to explore space and protect Earth. Now they were being asked to keep peace among species they had never met in systems they had never seen. Admiral, will other human crews be ready for this kind of responsibility? They'll have to be, Captain. The galaxy has seen what we can do, and they're counting on us to use that power wisely. 6 months later, Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Vengeance as it patrolled the border between Coalition and disputed space. His ship had become famous throughout the galaxy, not for the battles it had fought, but for the wars it had prevented. Alien historians were already calling the encounter in the Kepler sector the Silent Victory. It was the day when humanity proved that the most powerful weapon was often the one that never needed to be fired. Jake's personal log entry that day read, "The Vengeance continues its mission of peacekeeping through strength. We have learned that true courage is not shown by those who are eager to fight, but by those who choose not to fight when they have the power to destroy everything in their path. Today we prevented another conflict simply by being present." The galaxy is learning that human ships keep the peace, not through fear, but through the promise that we will always protect those who cannot protect themselves. The legend of the warship, that was so feared no one dared fire a shot, had become the foundation of lasting peace among the stars.